I want you to imagine this. You're sitting alone in your car. It's raining. The streetlights blur through the windshield, and your heart feels unbearably heavy. Maybe you've just lost something, a job you gave years to, a marriage you once believed would last forever, or maybe you've simply lost that quiet sense that everything will be okay. Have you ever been in a moment like that? I remember a friend once shared with me how she broke down crying in the bathroom, not because someone saw her, but because no one did. She said, "I feel like the world only cares when I'm shining, but when I fall apart, no one notices." And you know what? She wasn't wrong. This world is quick to remember your failures. The day you got fired, the day your marriage ended, the decisions that seemed to undo everything you worked so hard to build. People saw you fall, and maybe they rushed to the conclusion, that's it, they're done. But that's only the story they saw. God saw something else entirely. He saw you in the dark, hands gripping the wheel, head bowed in silent tears, whispering, "God, I still trust you." He saw you choose prayer over bitterness. He saw you choose peace even if it meant walking away from a toxic relationship you once thought you couldn't live without. He saw you worship in the wreckage, give thanks with an empty bank account, and still show up, still love, still believe. You see, people often measure you by what's visible: success, status, a curated social media image. But God measures something completely different. The faith you held on to in the dark. No spotlight, no applause, just a quiet whisper, "I'm still here, Lord." I've worked with many people, from CEOs to those healing from heartbreak. And there's one truth I've come to see clearly. The strongest souls are not the ones who've never fallen, but the ones who did fall and still refuse to let go of their faith. Psychologists call it resilience, the ability to recover after trauma, but I call it grace, a strength that comes from somewhere beyond human understanding. So if today you feel misunderstood, if you feel like your story is only half told, I want you to remember this. Heaven may be silent, but it is never blind. God sees you. He's proud of you. And He is still writing the rest of your story, not with judgment, but with the loving eyes of a Father who never left your side. You're still here. And that's not failure. That's a miracle. Have you ever felt like no one really sees you? And I don't mean visibility, not the seen check marks on a message or the hearts on social media. I mean the feeling of giving your heart, your time, your tears, and no one really knows how hard you've had to fight just to stay standing. I once spoke to a single mother. She told me about nights where she sat crying in the kitchen, the lights off, the kids asleep, and she was still counting every penny to cover school fees and the electric bill. No one saw, no one asked, but she still prayed. She still believed. And do you know what moved me the most? She said, "I know God sees. I don't need anyone to applaud me. I just need to know He hasn't forgotten me." It sounded like a whisper, but really, it was a declaration of faith. In this world, people judge you by your outcomes. Have you succeeded yet? What do you have to show? Are you recognized? How many followers? How many views? But God is different. He doesn't just look at the finish line. He looks at how you walked through the darkest valleys. He sees the faithfulness, the things you did when no one clapped, no one noticed, no one thanked you, and yet you still showed up, still gave, still trusted, and He never forgets. He saw you still giving, even when your bank account only had a few dollars left. He saw you loving the people who hurt you and forgiving them, not because they deserved it, but because you chose to live by grace. He saw you kneeling in worship, even when your heart was breaking, and He never forgets. Scripture says it clearly. He will bring to light what is hidden in darkness and will expose the motives of the heart. At that time, each will receive their praise from God. 1 Corinthians 4:5. Did you hear that? God doesn't just see what you do, He sees the intention behind it. He sees the heart that no one else does. Many people think the end comes when you've lost everything. When the door slams shut, when the dream collapses, when people walk away and you feel like you've been buried. But let me remind you, you haven't been buried, you've been planted. That silence? It wasn't rejection. It was preparation. John 12:24 says, "Unless a grain of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed. But if it dies, it produces many seeds." The death you've experienced, the death of pride, of dependency, of unfulfilled plans, was never the end. It's the fertile ground where God is planting deep roots in you. Resilience, humility, and unshakable faith. And the deeper the roots, the stronger the tree. I've seen this over and over again. In the lives of people who chose to do the right thing when no one was watching, no one applauding, no one sharing their story on Instagram. But time always tells the truth. Psychological studies have confirmed this. Consistent action in difficult conditions is one of the clearest signs of internal strength and integrity. Faithfulness doesn't need recognition. Faithfulness comes from knowing you belong to something greater. And that is exactly what God honors. God doesn't reward you because you're famous. He doesn't reward you because you were invited to the stage. He rewards you because you didn't give up, even when the only thing you had left to hold on to was faith. Maybe you're in a season right now where everything feels stuck. You pray, and heaven stays silent. You do the right thing, but there's no clear breakthrough. You chose the narrow road, while others took shortcuts, and somehow they seem to be getting further ahead. I know that feeling. I've lived in it, but I've also seen how it ends. And I'm here to tell you, God doesn't just restore, He repays. He doesn't just heal, He returns what was lost. Joel 2:25 says, "I will restore to you the years the locusts have eaten." Did you catch that? Not just months, years. Years you thought were wasted. God has been gathering every moment, and He's preparing to return it in a way that only one word can explain: miracle. And this is the part that moves me most. The restoration will happen in front of the very people who thought you were finished. Psalm 23:5 says, "You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies." Not to show off, not to get revenge, but to prove one thing: your faithfulness was real. And what comes from God doesn't need promotion. It shines on its own. You won't have to explain anything. Just walk in. Walk into the room where you were once rejected. Step into the position others said you weren't good enough for. Embrace the calling you once doubted was even yours. You no longer have to prove anything to anyone, because what you planted in the dark is about to bloom in the light. And I want you to remember this deep in your heart. God sees. He sees even the things you can't share with anyone. He records every tear, every weary nod when you still whispered, "I trust you, Lord." He sees when you choose forgiveness, when you refuse to retaliate, when you walk away in silence just to protect your peace. And He will not forget. Never. So, if today you feel quiet, invisible, or left behind, don't lose heart. This is not the end. This is the part where you are being planted, and the harvest season is getting close. Because God isn't just rewriting your story. He's about to reveal what He's been doing in the dark. So the world will know you've always belonged to Him. Stay faithful, even when no one's clapping. Because the reward doesn't come from people, it comes from your Father in heaven. And when he opens a door, no one can shut it. I don't know exactly where you are on your journey, but if you're still listening right now, maybe you're at the end of an old chapter, or standing right in front of a door that feels too new, too unknown, to step through. So hear me when I say this clearly. God is preparing to lift you up. And this isn't just empty encouragement. This is a season of transformation. But before we talk about what's coming, I want you to pause and look back just for a moment at everything you've walked through. Have you ever asked yourself, why am I still here? You've endured things few could ever understand. Quiet heartbreaks, unspoken disappointments, mornings when you still got up, even though the night before, you just wanted to disappear. And the miracle is, you still didn't quit. A friend of mine who lost both his job and his family within a single year once told me, I don't understand why I still believe, but every time I wanted to give up, something inside kept whispering, don't. I call that faithfulness in the silence. You don't need a stage. You don't need applause. You just need to know that there is one who still sees you in every moment you choose to trust, even when there's no clear reason to. And because of that, God is opening a door, not because you've done everything perfectly, not because you've never stumbled, but because you didn't surrender. When others chose shortcuts, you chose integrity. When everyone else walked away in silence, you stayed on your knees and prayed. When everything in you was breaking, you still chose to say, God, I trust you. That kind of courage, the world may not see it, but heaven has recorded every detail. And Scripture says, humble yourselves under the mighty hand of God, so that in due time he may lift you up. 1 Peter 5:6. This is your due time. I don't know what you're dreaming for. A new job? A restored marriage? A calling? A confirmation that your life still holds divine meaning? But here's what I do know. God isn't inviting you to perform a religious ritual. He's inviting you into a living relationship. A relationship that doesn't require you to be perfect, only honest. You can say, God, I'm tired. You can say, I've doubted, I've been angry, I've run. And he will still say, I know, but I've never taken my eyes off you. I want you to imagine this. A child falls, scraped knees, tears flowing. And the parent doesn't say, why did you trip? They don't scold the child for being weak. They run to the child, scoop them up, and say, it's okay, Daddy's here. And you know what? That's exactly who God is. He doesn't come to criticize your scars. He comes to lift you up and help you keep going. He's not proud of you because you never cried. He's proud of you because every time you did cry, you still chose to trust him. I once spoke with a seasoned Christian counselor, and she shared something I'll never forget. What I see in the people who heal the deepest is not outer strength. It's their willingness to surrender. They've learned how to admit their limits and open up to the one who has none. Surrender doesn't mean giving up. Surrender means handing over the wheel to the one who knows the road. You've been steering this ship long enough. Maybe you've been trying to get it right, trying to be strong, trying to stay in control. But now God doesn't want you to keep trying. He wants you to let go. And if you're ready, not because you've got it all together, but because you finally know you need him, then I want to invite you into a new chapter. Don't wait until you feel worthy. God doesn't love you because you're worthy. He loves you because you belong to him. And today, he's saying to you, I'm proud of you. Not because you never doubted, not because you were always strong, but because even when you fell, you got back up. Even when you were breaking, you still worshiped. Even when you couldn't see the way, you still believed he had one. And now, God doesn't just look at you with love. He's preparing to lift you up publicly, clearly, at the right time, not so you can boast, but so you can glorify the one who held you in the dark. Others will look at your life and ask, how did they make it through all of that? And you'll smile, not with explanation, but with one simple truth. God did it. If something inside your heart is stirring right now, that's not an accident. That's an invitation, a gentle but clear voice saying, come home, step in, surrender, believe. Let God write the next part of your story, a chapter more radiant than anything you ever imagined. He's still here, and He is so proud of you. If these words spoke to your heart, if you saw yourself in this story, I want to invite you to share something in the comments. You don't have to write a long message. Just speak honestly. Where are you in your journey right now? Have you ever held on to faith in the dark? Do you sense God whispering something to your heart today? I read every comment, and I pray for each person who writes. Because I truly believe we were never meant to walk alone. And if you've been longing for a faith family, a space where you're reminded daily that you're not forgotten, then I invite you to subscribe to this channel. Here, we don't talk about perfection. We talk about honesty, not just about faith on the stage, but faith in the quiet rooms, where no one sees but God is fully present. And if you know someone who needs to be reminded that they're not done, they're being planted, send this video to them. Sometimes, a single reminder can change an entire life.